sit here and watch through it and pause if there's anything interesting that comes up. So let us begin. Welcome back, my friends.
Hey, take a look. Welcome to Summer of Gaming 2022. I'm Ryan McCaffrey here at IGN. I am always pleased to sit down, even if it's remotely over the phone, with Todd Howard, the game director on Starfield at Bethesda Game Studio.
I thought he changed color there. So this is a remote interview, okay.
Todd, how are you, sir?
I'm great. We're all excited today after this weekend, and incredible response from everybody.
Well, that's actually where I wanted to start with you. So we're recording this.
Is that just a picture of him? Oh, bless! They didn't get him on Zoom this time.
The day after the showcase, and what? So were you following the community reaction? What was your reaction to the community reaction to the gameplay reveal?
Well, I'm always excited when nothing leaks, so that's usually where I start. The whole team obviously is spending years on the game, and then when you put it out there is this moment of how's everyone going to react. And I will say, the fans have been really incredible in the response to what we're.
I mean, it did really blow my socks off, this sort of presentation. I was genuinely surprised and excited. I had very low expectations, to be honest with you, so yeah.
Doing and their support, so everyone on the team is just really overjoyed, and all that energy back to us is so much fuel in the tank to make this as good as it can be.
I just wanted to talk to you about a few follow-up questions I had, because I, like many people, have been very much looking forward to this game, and part of that is the scale and scope of this, Todd. That you seem to really want to drive that home in the presentation, the massive scale and scope of this project. You got all these planets. You touched on 1,000 planets. I imagine you're.
So just a quick stop there. We just watched the Pete Hines interview, if you guys missed it. And Pete said that you can literally just focus on the story. You don't even need to explore all of these planets. We don't know how. They're obviously going to be procedurally generated, many of them. And I did a video about what I think will be on them, linked down below. But Pete kind of said you can just engage in just the main story, and it's kind of hand-holdy, or you can go and build your own spaceship and focus on that. You can completely ignore outposts and all this other stuff. You can literally play the game the way you want to, which I think is very Bethesda. And that was his big takeaway from the interview. So I just want to put that out there. You don't have to go around and harvest resources by the sounds of it if you don't want to engage with that. But let's see how Todd replies to the thousands of planets comment.
You're going to have to procedurally generate a lot of those.
Yeah, look, I mean, we're pretty aware you throw that out near the end, people will go, what did you just say? And then they'll have a lot of questions on how that works. And we will probably deep dive into that in the future. Here's how we pull it off and how it feels. We ask ourselves in the games that we love to make and that we love to play, and what's great about video games, and you're going to step into these universes, you go through in your head all the things you would want to do in a game like that, and we try to say yes as much as possible. It was always for us, we like those kind of experiences. Could we eventually do one in space? Because that's going to involve, in the way that we would want it, going to a lot of planets and being able to explore them in some way. So we do a lot of procedural generation, but I would keep in mind that we've always done that.
Right. Yeah, they've been doing that since the Elder Scrolls Oblivion. They procedurally generated so much of the environment, and they always have. They know what they're doing with procedural generation for sure. But I think the concern is everyone was like, oh, I remember No Man's Sky when that came out, and how you were just exploring all these barren wastelands of nothingness on each planet you landed on. It just wasn't that motivating or exciting to visit, and I think that was everyone's concern. But it's good to hear that he's going to be releasing some new content on it and sort of explaining and deep diving into how it works. So that's very exciting.
And it's a big part of Skyrim in terms of questing and some other things we do. We generate landscape using procedural systems, and so we've always kind of worked on it. And a planet by itself, if you think about it, is sort of, in a game concept, just one planet is infinitely big if you're going to do it in some realistic fashion. So once you're dealing with scale like that in procedural systems, the difference between, say, one planet that has some variation on it, and 100 planets or 1,000 planets, it's actually not that big of a leap, if that makes sense, once you have good systems working for that. But I should also add that we have done more handcrafting in this game, like content-wise, than any game we've done. We're over 200,000 lines of dialogue, so we still do a lot of handcraft.
By the way, it's also been confirmed, in case you didn't hear, because it was announced on Twitter by Bethesda, that the main protagonist, as in your character, is not voice acted, which I am so happy about. Oh my god, I'm so happy about that. Because I felt like in Fallout, this is a hill I will die on, by the way. I felt like in Fallout 4, because you had the same character voice and the same personality, every time you played a new game, you were playing the same guy. And I felt like it ruined my roleplay immersion. Whereas compared to Fallout New Vegas and Skyrim, the amount of dialogue that was written, I just felt like you could roleplay your character and make your decisions. And that, to me, is much more exciting with no voice-acted character. I can understand why some casual players may be a bit put off and how it helps them. And in the past, I thought voice acting would be good. But after Fallout 4, I was actually, no, I don't want voice acting. And I'm glad they've gone back the other direction. And they have listened to the audience and even my own feedback on many things, which I was really excited about.
Crafting. And if people just want to do like what they're used to in our games and follow a main quest and do the quest lines, you're going to see what you'd kind of expect from us. But then you have this whole other part of, well, I'm just going to wander this planet and it's going to provide some gameplay and some random content and those kind of things, kind of like a Daggerfall would,
right?
If you go way back. You know, there are a lot of ice balls in space. So that was one of our big design considerations on this.
So like Pete Hines said, the fact that they have 1,000 other planets that you can explore, you don't need to engage with that. And I'm sure some of them are barren wastelands. They can't have hand-tailored loads of things onto these planets. But as I said in my previous video that released a couple of hours ago, I think you have to think of these planets as locations in any Bethesda game. So usually when you go to a location, be it a dungeon, a location in Fallout 4 or something, there's like an experience at that location. So you go there, there's just like one sort of place there that's been tailor-made, like it's occupied by bandits, like a campsite. You go there to that planet, you experience that little thing. It takes you like 10 to 30 minutes, and then you're done with that planet. Maybe also on the details, there's other resources to find and creatures to discover there, but you don't need to engage with that, you know? So look at these as little dungeons that you can explore, I guess.
Game is what's fun about an ice ball. And it's okay sometimes if ice balls aren't, it is what it is. You want to go land on that weird planet and check it out and build an outpost and live your life there and watch the sunset because you like the view of the moons there. Like, we go for it. We love that stuff.
But that is romanticizing what could be just, I think the scary thing is that you could be like, oh, I'm going to explore 100 planets, and then you go to each one and there's nothing on everything. But it seems like they do have these icons that signify that there is something on this planet and it's over here. So you don't just land on the other side and you're like, oh, there's nothing here for miles. Because these whole planets that are procedurally generated are almost as big as Skyrim. Like, you can't even see the horizon. You're going to run out of oxygen before you can walk that far, So you kind of got to bear in mind that gameplay. Now, one thing a mod did say to me on my other video was the modding community was like, oh, actually, I'm excited about this because we can create content for our own planet. Like, we can make like a whole quest city experience on like our own one of 1,000 planets, and we can just make that our own and put like a house or experience on that planet. And I'm like, damn, that's going to be modding for this game is going to be insane. That's exciting.
Well, similarly, I wanted to ask you about the space combat. You can build a ship and you can go battle in ship-to-ship combat in outer space. So when I saw that, I thought, well, that's really cool, but I did also get a little twinge of fear that, well, I hope this isn't going to be something shallow like the going with the Mako on Mass Effect 1 and just roaming a bunch of mostly empty planets. So, like, can you talk a little bit about the depth of what we can look forward to with the space combat?
Sure. I would say, the two things that we started on the project is we had a good basis for tech and gameplay systems from Elder Scrolls and Fallout. We started the planet stuff, the procedural generation can we build? And we started space combat. We want this to feel something unique. There's been a lot of space sims that we're fans of and space shooters from the 90s. And if you look at it, you can see it in the video. Your ship has various power systems. Yeah. A little bit of FTL there in terms of putting how much power into 3 different weapon systems, and then your engines and shields, and the grav drive is what lets you jump and sort of get out of some situations that you have to put power to. So there is some dogfighting. I have quotes up. We keep the pace fairly slow. One of the games that I love that we sort of look at for pace is Mech Warrior, believe it or not.
Nice. Good callback there.
Like that's probably a little bit slower, but in terms of systems and power and being able to line things up. Now it's a little bit faster than that, but you know what I mean, as opposed to a twitchy dogfighter. But it's
now, I mean, he said twitchy dogfighter there. The way Pete Hines talked about it in the interview, and I'm kind of crossing over here because you guys might not have seen that, but like he was saying that you really have to make your own ship and make sacrifices. It can't be well, I guess you could make a jack of all trades, but you can specialize in I'm making a dogfighter ship here, or this ship that they've made here, which is clearly a cargo carrier. I like that kind of sacrifice of it doesn't have any weapon defense systems, maybe 2 guns at the top here, and that's it, you know? And also in the gameplay, if you look back at my video as well, like you can actually see the enemy pirate spaceships enter into hyperdrive and then enter your space, and they just sort of come out as a flash and then start attacking you, and it's quite a cool moment.
It's not just dogfighting. Like the ship stuff includes, you see it in the video, you can dock with other ships, you can disable them, you can dock, you can board it. There's actually some quests that involve that. You can steal the ship. There's dialogue in space. There's star stations you can visit. There's smuggling. There's
smuggling. He confirmed smuggling. I mean, I knew about the stealing ships because Pete Hines confirmed that as well, but smuggling is going to be so cool. I think you could be a merchant traveling around. You can smuggle stuff. Like, I love the concept. And also, I was thinking, if you steal an enemy ship, like, can you then use it as like a disguise to get in, to board like an enemy pirate ship and then take over a bigger ship because they thought you were friendly but you weren't? Like, it just gets me excited to think of the possibilities there. And if not, mods have done a similar thing with wearing the Imperial armor to sneak into an Imperial camp even though you're with the Stormcloak. Certain mods with the Civil War have that kind of thing and dynamic, and it really just it excites me. So that's very cool. Sweet roll smuggling, yes.
All the things that we would want. And we'll be showing some more of that later, but it's a good chunk of gameplay that we think is really fun when it comes to playing this type of sci-fi game.
Oh, you're getting me fired up, Todd. And one of the other things actually that really jumped out at me, that got me fired up from the gameplay reveal, was the character customization and the character creation. So many character backgrounds to choose from. Beast Hunter, Bouncer, Chef, Diplomat, Gangster, Ronin. Those are some of the ones that jumped out at me. How many are in there, and what's your favorite that maybe you've been messing around in a build lately that's you've been having fun with?
I might get the number wrong, Ryan. Maybe there's 20.
Okay.
We add or remove.
Yeah.
And that really is, think of.
I don't know if you can make your own yet, by the way. I feel like you can, because in Oblivion you could, and they're all about that customization and role-play and playing the way you want. So I feel like it would be a crime not to have that, and mods would add it if not, but surely they will. Do you know what I mean?
It like a class, kind of. It's a start.
Right.
Here are your starting skills. There is some dialogue that works into that choice, and some other options in the game based on what you picked.
So we were right there. So he's about to show this right now. So this is basically him making reference of your character background and what you chose. And there's going to be certain things like you can access certain shops depending what religion you might be a part of in your background. And you can also access different factions and be friends with different people. People might dislike you depending on your background. So, but these, in terms of starting skills, it's exactly like in Skyrim. It's not like you are then stuck with this character backstory, kind of like in Cyberpunk, which was a bit more like, you are now this, you're a nomad sort of thing. This is more like, okay, you have these free starting skills, like in Skyrim where you started with more one-handed skill, or more destruction skill if you're like a high elf or something, or you had a boost in magicka. Obviously, we just have human races though, so there's no racial benefits, but just regarding the perks. If you start in one class and you're like, I actually don't like melee combat, it doesn't really matter. You can just spend your skill points into other directions. You know, you're not really going to min-max, unless you're min-maxing your character, it doesn't really matter. It's kind of like Skyrim, I think.
It says here you spend some time as a diplomat. Having a way with words might prove useful.
I mean, I think the chef is kind of funny, to be honest, which is why it starts the video. I love these starting skills of like astronomy and knives and wellness. So there's some things like that that's a bit more interesting role-playing outside of your usual, I just shoot people. So we do have some really nice role-playing systems for, you know, some other options in terms of dialogue and crafting, being able to manipulate people, those kind of things, leadership, that I think are pretty interesting when it comes to the content we have.
You know, something else that's always...
I was just thinking, obviously they have crew members, so it could be that you play as a diplomat and your crew just does all the killing and you're just sort of like there, not killing anyone. Could be a feature.
Memorable in your games and your team's games is that first moment when you come out of, whether it's a jail cell or a cave or whatever it is, a vault, and you see that the game world for the very first time. Is there a handcrafted moment like that in Starfield, given that there are many worlds?
There is. Look, the way the game starts is pretty set for everybody.
Yeah.
So we definitely have what we call the step out moment, and we probably have a few of them given the scale of the game. The early ones are the ones that we do spend time on to make sure it's impactful when you finally get to see the, you know, surface of the planet or what that planet looks like from space.
I remember in a previous interview, now it makes sense, he said there will be multiple step out moments, like the first time you leave the vault, the first time you leave you know, Helgen in Skyrim, you step out and you're like, oh, look at this open world, and the Oblivion sewer. He said there's like multiple of those because you're probably going to multiple planets, and each one, I imagine, visiting a planet for the first time is probably going to be quite a breathtaking experience, or at least that's how I felt watching the showcase.
Something else that jumped out at me from the gameplay was New Atlantis, that city. It reminded me of maybe the Citadel on Mass Effect 1, or to go back to one of your games, the Imperial City from Oblivion. What are some of the things we can do in there? Because it seems like a place that you're going to want to go back to time and again.
Yeah, we have 4 main cities in the game, and New Atlantis is easily the biggest city in the game and the biggest city we've ever built. Kind of the capital here in the game, and it has all the services you would expect, and you can work on your ship there. The factions touch that, but that's also the headquarters for Constellation, which is the faction that you join.
Right.
That is the last group of space explorers, kind of this NASA meets Indiana Jones meets the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. And that's really where the main quest goes through that group, so that's where they're headquartered.
15 minutes is a lot of time in a showcase, but it's not really a lot of time to go over everything in something as vast as what Starfield appears to be. So I wanted to ask you about the main story. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
So I can actually tell you a lot of the main story because I feel like they have actually kind of exposed a lot. Just in the gameplay trailer that we first got last year, there was a lot of details about those fragments we see in the gameplay there, and collecting them to figure out maybe there's an alien race that have left something behind. I don't want to go too much into detail because I feel like it's for you guys to discover and not me to sort of explain to you.
Because that's something that I feel like wasn't really touched on in the video. I mean, you know, we know about Constellation and you're joining, but what's sort of the central conflict? Can you kind of set the game up for us a little bit?
Yeah, we touch on it a little bit in the demo, where Constellation is trying to, they're still exploring and figuring out the mysteries of the universe, and they also look for, old Earth artifacts. You'll see that in some of the stuff we hint at.
That's cool. So there's this one clip where you actually see some old NASA artifacts, some old, you see it in the trailer, and there's bits and bobs from old space. If you follow NASA and space discovery, you'll recognize a lot of it. We also see the Easter egg with the Mars rover. I don't know if there'll be a quest on collecting these old world artifacts, but you can go to our old solar system, so you can experience that for yourself. And that's very exciting. I hope they play on some of the conspiracy that have come out recently. If you follow space and aliens, you'll be excited, but I'm not going to sound like a crazy person here with you guys.
Exploration, and then they've uncovered some of these artifacts that they don't know their origin, and that's the quest you kind of start on.
And speaking of the main quest, role-playing gamers tend to be very obsessed with how long the game is. How, with your games, there's never been a shortage of things to do. Can we expect the main story to be roughly the same length, kind of hours-wise, as we've seen from your previous games? Or is that leveling up too, along with the scope of everything else in Starfield?
We usually aim for around that length if you look at our previous games, but this one's ending up a little bit longer, and we may tune that some still. And it's more quests, so it might be 20% more than our previous ones. So if you say, and your mileage may vary, people generally don't straight line it, but if our previous ones, if we aimed for, let's say, a 25-hour main quest, this one might be in the 30s, maybe 40 just for the main quest. But
yeah,
I think you almost can't say it's such a trivial number in a Bethesda game, and it's just not how they're meant to be played. It's kind of like when I sit there, and I think I streamed the entire Skyrim main quest maybe a couple of times, and I think maybe it was like, I don't know, 12 hours or something, but it was purely just me focusing on the main quest with the idea of getting through it and telling this whole story for you guys to sit back and chill out and watch. And you can probably do a similar thing with Starfield, but it's just an arbitrary number. It doesn't really matter. It's going to be a Bethesda game, so I can expect that it's going to be a big experience, and I hope that you get the feeling where you're on a main quest, kind of like the first time I played Oblivion, and you're like, oh, you've got to go and find Joffrey, give him the Amulet of the Kings. And then you just like end up completely on the other side of the map, forgotten what you're doing like another side quest. And that's what the game's about. It's not about really the amount of time the main quest in. It's just so arbitrary. It's not a Call of Duty campaign or something.
Obviously, all of the other quests, faction lines, and everything else we have here, there is quite a bit. There is quite a bit there, and we've sort of learned that people do play our games for a really, really long time. They're still playing Skyrim, not straight for 10 years, but they leave it and they come back, and there's extra content. And certainly we're going to be doing extra content for this game, and we love our modding community.
Okay, so we're talking about mods here. Before we do, I just want to say, I feel like they've built the basis that modders can come in, take their own planet and do their own thing with it without kind of messing up the game world, or like, Whiterun, and you go in there and you change Whiterun, then suddenly you've got conflicting mods and stuff. Whereas now you can take your own planet on this side of the solar system and be like, I'm going to build a huge house here, or a new city, or a new quest. And I think they've built an awesome baseline. But Todd's about to talk about mods and how they have future experiences that they're planning for Starfield, which is cool.
We actually think this game for our modding community is going to be a dream, because there's so much they could do. So we think that's a great thing that we love as well.
You always aim for these big games, but you were talking about it at the beginning of our conversation that you tried to say yes to everything, to everybody's ideas for this. Do you do that in part because, like, if we take a realistic look at your studio and you personally, you've got 3 major game franchises under your direct control with the Elder Scrolls and Fallout and now Starfield. So did you take any kind of different approach to Starfield, knowing that realistically you probably won't be able to physically get around to making another one for at least 5 years, and probably more like 10, given that you're moving on to Elder Scrolls 6 after this?
Just want to say, this is a clever question because it could hint at when the Elder Scrolls 6 is coming out. I wish you didn't mention the Elder Scrolls 6, though, because now Todd's prepped for it.
And presumably Fallout might be in the future down the road as well.
Well, I wouldn't say we say yes because we don't think we'll get another shot for a decade. We just think what we'd want to do in a game, and how can we make that work the best it can be. And there are some things that we don't do intentionally to say, is that really where we want to spend the time? What's going to be impactful? One for Starfield people have asked is, well, can you fly the ship straight down to the planet? No. We decided...
there you go, confirmed. I was right. I told you guys. A lot of people doubted me, but so all the cutscene shows like a cutscene where you're taking off, and then there's you press A to land. The same when you land, you've got like the cutscenes of the different angles of the ship. So yeah, you cannot land. I don't think I would love to go through the atmosphere and have that experience. Maybe mods will allow for it. I don't know, but I feel like it's actually not the be all and end all. And maybe just sitting there and traveling into the atmosphere might be cool a few times, but would I get bored for it and just fast travel at the end of the day, like in Skyrim? Probably, yeah.
Early in the project that the on surface is one reality, and then when you're in space is another reality. And if you try to like really spend a lot of time engineering the in-between, like that segue, you're just spending a lot of time that's really just not that important to the player. So let's make sure it's awesome when you're on the surface and awesome when you're in space. And those,
it's cool the first few times, but eventually I'm just going to fast travel there. And after you've played Skyrim a couple of times, you'll do the same thing, You're not going to use the carriage very often. You're not really going to travel on horseback that much. I think that was probably the right call to save time there.
Realities look as good as they can be and play as good as they can be for those realities. But the other thing you said, yes, Elder Scrolls 6 is in pre-production, and we're going to be doing Fallout 5 after that. So our slate's pretty full going forward for a while. We have some other projects that we look at from time to time as well, but they do take a while. I wish they came out faster. I really do. We're trying as hard as we can, but we want them to just be as best as they could be for everybody.
So I would say, Todd sounds absolutely exhausted. He's absolutely just worked his ass off to get everything ready for today, along with, I'm sure, the whole Bethesda team. But it's cool that he mentioned the Elder Scrolls 6. The last time he mentioned Fallout 5 was, I think, end of last year, and he said there was a one-pager on Fallout 5. Obviously, Elder Scrolls 6 is still in pre-production. Why does that surprise you? 2030 isn't a crazy date. I think maybe, 2028. But, I think this game's kind of prepped to hand over to modders. Fallout 5 is going to be probably 2032 or something nuts, But Elder Scrolls 6, I've got some more information about it, something to share with you guys, but yeah, it seems about right, It doesn't surprise me. And I'm glad that they've delayed Starfield to take the time to polish it, because even in some of the gameplay with some of the FPS, little bugs that I did notice, I feel like, it does need polishing, and they're taking the time to do that now, and they've learned. And that's good. I'm glad,
Well, Todd, I look forward to learning a lot more about Starfield and, most importantly, playing Starfield at some point between now and this time next year, if all goes well. Todd, thank you, as always, for your time. I really appreciate it.
I appreciate it, and thanks for all the support everybody's given us, and the folks at IGN. You guys did a great job yesterday as well. So just excited for the whole industry, everything that's going on, and Xbox has been, I have to just say, this is the...
Just before he finishes that, that's really cool to hear. By the way, just to let you guys know, I am going to be doing a fundraiser with the voice actors from Skyrim and the Elder Scrolls Oblivion, and even as far back as Morrowind. I've got Wes Johnson, who is the voice of Sheogorath. He also did the Imperial Guard, stop, you violated the law. And all these characters like Himeris Moore from Skyrim, even people in the Elder Scrolls Online and so on. And he's going to be here on Friday. I'll link that stream down below in the description. And I'd absolutely love it if you guys can be there, because we're raising money for Alzheimer's. And the charity link is already on the description of that video. My granddad had dementia, so it's an important cause for me as well. But we're also going to have other voice actors, like the Adoring Fan's going to be there. I'm going to be playing Oblivion. I'm going to put a community post out soon, so you guys can ask questions that you want me to ask them. And also the live chat will be there, so I'll be interacting with you guys as we go. But I want to really, it's going to be really chill, really relaxed, really nice environment for you guys just to ask questions and interact. So I really want you guys to be there for that live stream as well. I've literally had a few hours sleep, man. I'm so tired, but we need to keep going with this, and it's a really important cause. And the week after, we have myself, Wes, Sheogorath, again, and also Shirley Curry. who is in the Elder Scrolls 6, and we're going to be sitting down with her and playing Skyrim and talking about that game as well. And that will be scheduled. So subscribe with the bell icon to make sure you get notifications about that.
The first game we've done under that, and they've just been incredible partners with us to make this the best it can be.
Awesome. There we go. There we go. Like that was a really cool interview. I really enjoyed it. And thank you so much for watching. I hope to see you on Friday night at that fundraiser, and I hope you guys can make it and you set the time for it, because it's going to be a hell of fun. I've met Wes yesterday. If you follow me on Twitter, you would have seen that. And like he's a fan of the games as well, man. He plays them. He has the cosplay. He's just awesome, man. So I'm so excited for that, and to like share it, and like you guys as a community has allowed me to bring that to you guys, and like that just means the world for me. So thank you so much. And thanks for watching this show. Really interesting, thought-provoking interview from Todd Howard. I feel like he answered a lot of the questions we had there. One from Pete Hines is coming out very soon if you didn't watch the live stream. So I'll put that out very shortly. Have a lovely evening. Like the video if you enjoyed it.